It's taking advantage of the situation that they played last night. We talked about that a few times this year, where we've had teams coming in from Chicago or Minnesota. I mean, this one they're coming from out west. It's vital that we get off to a good start and make it hard on them early on. And like I always say, you got to respect your opponent. They're not going to hand you anything. We got to go take it from them. And the faster we can do that, hopefully they'll not maybe want to play anymore. But it's important about how we come out tonight.
Because you had a look at them last night, how different, if at all, are they from the team that you barely beat in December and then the one that you kind of mopped the floor with in October?
Yeah, let's not be disrespectful on the mop the floor. But I know what you're saying. Yeah, I understand. Every game, obviously, it takes different ways, and it still takes 60, 65 minutes to win hockey games. We were better in one than we were in the other, for sure. And but at the end of the day, that had a little bit to do with us. I went back and watched the one where Lowry scored late for us to win that one. We had some sloppiness to our game. They've made some changes. Obviously, they're a young team that's trying to grow, but that's not something that we really look into too much. We obviously look at their style of play, how they go about trying to do things, to exploit things. They were good yesterday. They were real good against Calgary. So we just have to make sure that we get to Jet hockey as quick as possible.
Scott, question about Josh, Kyle, and Connor in Four Nations. Regardless of the end result and who played, who didn't, what does the totality of that experience for those three key players on your roster do for the Winnipeg Jets by extension as you head into the home stretch toward the playoffs?
Yeah, that's talking to their teammates, I know I kind of heard some things yesterday and the other day, just telling stories, the stuff they went through, some of the other players around the league, the elite players, sort of the stuff that being around those guys. But for us, at the end of the day, those three guys getting playoff experience in February, playing in games that had the magnitude of what you're going to see come games 53 and on, 83 and on. And that's what I was hoping for. Number one, I was hoping they all came back healthy. But number two, it was, playing in those heavy moments, pressure moments, especially that one. There was so much, that whole tournament, there was so much, whether it was media and fans, country against country, just everything that was going on. It just was great for them to go through that experience.
Do you sense that they've added something to the toolbox in your discussions?
We'll kind of see that when we get down the road here as we get into these big games. But I just like to think that them being in those moments, it's just lessons you learn. It's like a young player. As you more and more you play in the game, you learn to grow. How you play, how you approach things, how you approach different situations. The one thing I said to all three of them before they left was, you're around great players. Soak up, listen, watch. Just take what you can take from those guys that might help you. Maybe there's some things there wasn't, but at the end of the day, I think there was enough great players. They were surrounded by enough great players that there's things you can take away.
Scott, looked like Adam Lowry left the skate a bit early.
There's nothing there.
He's fine. Yeah. Okay. Morgan Barron, obviously second day in regular sort of. Is he very close to
He's close. He's close, yeah. We'll get... I think he gets skated today. We'll get the next couple. He'll come on the trip here and maybe an option for us, either Ottawa or Nashville.
I just wanted to ask about Vlad Namestnikov and obviously that new contract that he signed on Saturday. I imagine someone who uses him in a variety of ways. You wholeheartedly endorse the idea of extending him? Yeah, no, I think I'm a Vladdy fan. Obviously, I had him in New York and some history with him. I just think he's a real competitive guy that has found a way to, in this league, to stay in this league and to be effective. He's played a bottom six role. He's played a top six role. He's been on winning teams. To me, we can use him. Obviously, he got, put into a role of being second line center, and, has handled it very, very well. He's also kills penalties for us. He's on our second power play unit. He's a brave guy. He's a guy that'll block shots in any situations. He's also a little bit of a pest out there. He likes to get under the skin of the opposition. So he's, and then the last part, he wants to be here. He wants to be a Winnipeg Jet, and that's that for us. That's you'd love to hear that, and yeah, I'm a big fan of what I get from him every night.
Going back to the Four Nations topic, we've talked a lot about sort of the lessons they can learn from having been there. One of the striking things Connor Hellebuck said yesterday was what he expected in terms of reads was what he got, which was a lot like what he experiences here in Winnipeg. So for you, is there a sense of pride that, hey, there are elements of our game that actually hold up very well to this best on best in certain structural places?
Yeah, I think that, when it comes to goalies, elite goalies, when things are predictable for them, it makes them even that much better. Whether it's reads, what's coming next, where that next situation might be coming from. I know that when he was in those situations, he looked big. He looked calm. You don't know how it's gonna sort of shake out in those situations. I just thought that it was for him to go there and kind of just follow up, knowing that he had good players in front of him. They were playing a pretty solid system, and a lot of what we do, we try not to, we try to eliminate the A1 chances, and because we know he'll take care of the rest.
And then going back to the Vladdy wanting to be in Winnipeg, it's sort of a note I've noticed. Like Chevy talks openly about the group of guys that like to go ice fishing. You've had a lot of experience here in your life. You're a Manitoban now, right? And there's this almost change in what I hear you guys talk about in this last couple of years, where it used to be, well, we wouldn't acknowledge that some people don't want to be here, but now you seem to wear it openly when people don't, and you celebrate the ones that do. Is that a strategic thing? Like, where does that sort of perspective come from?
You know what? I think that, I guess you get beat on so much about people not wanting to hear about it. I got asked the other day about the 48% not wanting to be here, but there's 52% that want to be here, so that's the 52 we're after. But you know what? For me, I think and this goes back to way back in the 80s, 90s. Once players come here and once players spend time here, they enjoy their time and they make the most of it. And it just, for us to say that, I'm not going to harp on it. If somebody wants to move on and whatever, it is what it is. It's their right to do whatever they want to do. But at the end of the day, for me, when you hear guys that they want to stay, I mean, it started last year with Helly and Scheif. That was a major one for our organization. And then, for other guys to do that, and DeMello doing it this summer, I mean, then again, with Vladdy, those are good things, and they're good people. They're good players. They're people in our community that do a lot. I don't know if Vladdy's a fisherman or not, but at the end of the day, just to have those kind of guys around and that want to be here, it helps your group.
How'd you describe the way that Dylan Samberg handled the extra responsibility with Josh being out? I think he had a career high for minutes on Saturday.
Yeah, Stan had to move up as well, and then Billy was in that lineup. Sammy's been a nice surprise. I shouldn't say surprise. He's taken advantage of every situation that we've thrown at him, starting from the beginning of the year, moving up into a top 4 role. And you knew the other night there, especially when it was tight, that he was going to be out there a lot. And he's been pretty consistent, all through year long, and that's the biggest thing for a coach, for his teammates. When he brings consistency in that top 4 spot, that's huge.
Scott, just to go back to Vlad and Nino just for a second, with the deadline fast approaching, a week and a half away, when those guys were acquired, it didn't really resonate that much outside of the room. But is there a pretty good example there? I mean, Nino gets extended last year, Vladdy gets extended this year, and the roles they've gone on to play don't always, it doesn't always have to be a name from the big board at the trading deadline?
Yeah, it might not be in July where we get the chance to, maybe we're offering those type of situations, but those guys come in at the deadline and they were thrown into those situations and they grasped them. Then all of a sudden they got to learn about Winnipeg. They got to learn about how we run things, how we try to do everything first class here. Try to treat the players as best we possibly can, and then those guys are the ones that sign because they got opportunity and they like their role, and they like the city and they like the situation.